30th of April 2020, ladies and gentlemen watching us in and out of Cameroon, it is a pleasure having you in tonight's edition of Viewpoint on DBS television. Here with us in the studio, we have Mr. Kang Gogomos. He is a legal mind practitioner, and we have Margaret Venashus, your regular panel. Good evening to you, Mr. Kang Gogomos, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, madam. It's my pleasure being here tonight.
Margaret Venashus, good evening.
Good evening, Vanessa, and good evening to our viewers at home.
We will be right back in a moment for the first part of the show, which is the yes or no question. Question number 1. Will the presidential gift to fight COVID-19 reach the intended target? Mr. Kang?
No.
No. Manga Venashus?
No, it won't.
No, it won't. Question number 2. Is the move by the Cameroonian government towards African-based COVID-19 cure a sign of hope for a brighter future? Mr. Kang, I begin with you.
It is yes.
It is yes. Manga Venashus?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Question number 3. World Health Organization gift to Cameroon, is it a necessity now? I begin with you, Manga Venashus.
No, I don't think so.
No. Mr. Kang?
Yes, I think it's a necessity.
And the last question for today, is sentencing Guillaume Soro in Ivory Coast a solution to the political tension in that country? I begin with you, Mr. Kang.
No, Madam Vanessa, it
No.
is not.
Manga Venashus, what do you say on that?
No, it is not.
No, it is not. That is their point of view. Stay tuned for the second part, the debate. Once more, thank you very much for joining us on Viewpoint. Our first question, we asked whether the presidential gift to fight COVID-19 will reach the intended target, and Mr. Kang Gogomo said no, it's not going to reach the intended target. What makes you think that it's not going to reach the masses?
Madam, we are in Cameroon, and we have a lot of hierarchy, a hierarchy that is so complicated and complex. If I can look at the channel through which that gift, which is intended to fight the COVID-19 pandemic in this country, is to pass through, I begin to have doubts. My grounds of the doubt stems from the fact that the procedural order used is not a flexible one. I would have, if my opinion,
Your opinion?
was asked, I would tell you that the traditional rulers, the fonds, the chiefs, the quarter heads, the medical facilities, right from dispensaries, private health care units, recognized farmers groups, meetings should be consulted. It would have left the presidency straight, maybe directly to the subdivisional level, where it would easily reach the masses. Leaving the presidency to the secretariat, to the ministry, to the regions, and so on, takes a longer period of time, and Cameroonians can soon be dying of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think those in high authority are better placed in a way that they can quarantine themselves, because they have plenty. The masses are actually those who are vulnerable and much more exposed. And so it would have been made in such a way that they be reached faster than following a high and very, very complex hierarchical order, which to me has no place.
So indirectly, I understand that the goods are going to reach the intended target, but the time will be exhaustive to get to them.
Yes, madam, the time will be exhaustive to get to them, and the effects of it can be catastrophic.
That is his point of view. Manga Venashus, your point of view on this, you said no, it's not going to reach the intended target. Are you using a time as a frame to this question?
Not really time as such. Not really time. But we are looking at it from other things. In the science of epistemology, they tell us that knowledge moves from the known to the unknown. When I take the known, some of the such actions in Cameroon that have taken place, I stand a better place to chart the unknown, which is the future, and can conclude without fear or favor that the same procedure that happened in the previous incidents or previous acts would still repeat itself in this other act. Because when you look at what happened with the emergency humanitarian aid that was given, contributed by Cameroonians, in fact, and foreigners, to assist the ongoing pandemic, the ongoing crisis in the northwest, southwest, and the far north region, when you look at the way it is handled, you tend to ask the question whether the aim was those who are suffering. When we see the way this how they always manage it, we tend to find out whether they would really think of those who are suffering. We are talking about gift, we are talking about face masks, hand sanitizers, and other hygienic kits that the head of state has offered. In fact, we applaud the gesture of the head of state. But then, those who would manage it, I think that when you look at it, it was the Prime Minister and the Minister of Public Health that have been at the forefront of managing this pandemic from the onset. Mm-hmm. Other ministers were at the background. When it comes to something now like this, that it concerns the presidential gift, one, it was the Minister of Territorial Administration who announced it. Two, it was the Minister of Territorial Administration who supervised the dispatching of this gift to the regions.
But
it is quite clear.
Is he not in a better place to do that?
It is quite clear. The Minister of Territorial Administration is, he owns a department within his ministry that's called the Department of Civil Protection. That is right. But then, when it comes to this, let us give those who would manage. I don't see how you would take a different person to manage something that concerns health when the health department is there. The Prime Minister has been in the forefront. Why is it that the Minister of Territorial Administration, it concerns his department? Why should he not have been announcing other measures that the government has been putting in place? Why the Prime Minister comes when it comes to something like following it? We have the Minister of Public Health, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Public Health. But when it comes to announcing presidential gift and following the evolution, we hear the Minister of Territorial Administration and his chain of governors, DOs and SDOs to assure the management of this gift. I would rather think that, like Mr. Khan said, let it move within the ambit of health. It concerns health. And if it concerns health, there is a ministry that is solely responsible for it. If we underestimate the capabilities of this ministry, let us also underestimate the capabilities of this ministry in all the other areas. Let the Ministry of Territorial Administration handle it. I would rather think that we know when it comes to bottleneck, when it comes to handling issues, the DO will have to hand over to the SDO, hand over to the DO to Quarterhead, and before it reaches, this is how these products are reducing as they are moving from one step to the other, Whereas if the Ministry of Public Health took it, we know that we are taking it to this particular health center, to this particular hospital, and besides that, why not give it? Why not implicate the forces of law and order? The military would have distributed this gift. I think that they would have been effective than giving it to DOs and SDOs, governors. They have nothing to do with this, Vanessa. In fact, they have even been missing in this fight when it comes to coronavirus. So when it comes to presidential gift, let us give to those who have been there from the onset.
Manga Venashus, in your argument, I could likely say that you do not trust the process in which it's going to go through because it will be reduced along the line. Our second question, we are asking whether is the move by the Cameroonian government towards African-based COVID-19 cure a sign of hope for a brighter future? Mr. Kang, you said yes, it is a sign of hope. How managed could this be?
Madam, thank you. So many of us were very, very delighted, elated when the Archbishop announced on social media that he, after practicing the use of herbs in treating health issues for over 30 years, has been able to treat people who were found positive with the signs and symptoms of
The
the
coronavirus.
COVID-19 virus. And it did not only end at that. It came at a time when the Madagascan president, also on social media, published it up that Madagascar has come up with a treatment, still African-based and with the use of herbs. It does not really appear to me strange, because before they come into play, medical doctors, the use of laboratory-produced medicines like the quinines and so on, African people have been having such pandemics, and it never wiped out the African people, the African races, meaning that they used herbs to treat themselves. And if today there is a pandemic that is disturbing the whole world, and an African who has been practicing the use of herbs for over 30 years comes up with something like this, it is not a reason for us to doubt it, because the presentation he did was very, very clear. He has been treating people with the use of herbs and did not end there. If there are cases, these cases should be brought to him, and he should treat them as a proof of the effectiveness of his medicine. I can still recall that even before this pandemic spreading, the same symptoms that we are now having of the COVID-19, the coronavirus, many people have been sick in the past, having these same symptoms, and were treated. I can recall that sometime in 2002, when I visited Douala, I was a student of Form 4 then. When I went home, I had fever. And most of these symptoms we are having were exactly what I had. My parents took me to one elderly man in our neighborhood who went to the forest, harvested barks of trees, herbs, mashed them together, cooked them in a pot. When it bubbled to a stage, 100 degrees, I was covered with a thick blanket under that pot. That is the pot placed in front of me, and I under. I had to sweat for a very long time. And after that, I was given the content of that medicine to drink as prescribed by this father. And I bet you within 3-4 days, I was okay. From these experiences, I want to think that what the Archbishop has come up with, what the Madagascan have come up with, has convinced me that there is hope for the future. After all, have there not been pandemics in the past?
Thank
have
you
they
very
not come
much.
to an end?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kang,
you.
for your contribution. Mange Venashus, you are of the fact that, of course, Africa hopes for a brighter future, given that we already have 2 able Africans that have come up with a herbal solution to this cure.
A hope for the future. When it comes to when I saw the reaction of the Cameroon government, I was so pleased. When the Archbishop of Douala Archdiocese announced his cure, like Mr. Khan is saying, the Minister of Scientific Research in Cameroon sent a delegation from Yaoundé to meet him.
Yeah, together with the Ministry of Public Health.
Correct. So as to discuss with him to see if, scientifically speaking, if there are some lapses, or find out how he went through, coming about with this cure. That is a move. And we just by doing that shows that they are positive about that outcome from the Archbishop. When I listened to when I read a tweet from the Minister of Health on his Twitter page, he wrote that he is receiving a delegation from Madagascar to discuss about this COVID organic. I said, okay, look at it. Cameroon government is like giving a positive impression about this discoveries made by Africans. And if Africans could react like that, then we are telling the world that something good is coming out from Africa. It is a sure hope. And what I expected, we should not end here. Let us go further. The minister should go ahead to ask because another African country had placed their own order from Madagascar that it should also, that they should
Ghana.
bring the, yes,
Ghana.
correct. Ghana is already on the line.
Democratic Republic of Congo.
Democratic Republic of Congo, they have asked for the COVID organic. I think that Cameroon should also go that way, ask for the drink, because if it comes to Cameroon, Vanessa, I would consume it, without any hesitation. And I think that if Africans adopt this, we are going to prove to the world that we are able to stand up to this. This is a virus, like Mr. Khan said, like any other virus that came up, and people have been fighting to subdue it. You will not tell me that the cure would only come from a laboratory in Oxford, the cure would only come from a laboratory in US, in China. The cure can come from a laboratory here in Bonadibong, here in Akwa Douala. So you cannot tell me that Archbishop Cleda will come out with something like that, and then I don't consume it, and I wait for a tablet from China. No, why? So let us adopt, there's a glimmer of hope that the way Cameroon government has reacted to it, we should continue so that we come up with, approving and bringing the drug for Cameroonians to consume it. That is my own view of looking at it, Vanessa.
All right. Our third question for today is asking whether the WHO gift to Cameroon is a necessity now. Mr. Kang, you said yes, it is a necessity. But yesterday, a lot of people on the social media and on different media outlets, they said the gift is misdirected, that is untimely. And depending on the type of gift that they brought to us, we are talking about some vehicles. And you said, but according to you, it is a necessity now in Cameroon.
I want to think that we should be very, very realistic. We have already talked about herbal treatment to this, which is correct. When the World Health gives us these equipment, we have to transport. If we must use this herbal treatment, we have to transport it from one place to another. We have to move. If a laboratory for its multiplication is established in Douala, you will not tell me that someone who has symptoms of the coronavirus in Akwaya, someone who is in Furawa, someone who is in extreme north, will have to transport himself right down to Douala for the treatment. Rather, we will have to transport chunks of these treatments to the various nooks and crannies of the country, such that at end time T, somebody is diagnosed or suspected of having it. Why even suspect it? If I am asked, I will tell you that if it is a certainty that the treatment does not have a side effect, and that if you consume it without being infected, it can go a long way to boost your immune system, then I will be of the opinion that it should be shared to everybody in this country. And if this should be done, we need to transport it from one place to another. I think the gift of the World Health will facilitate this transportation. And like I complained the very first time, that the gift of the president might not attain its objective was an issue of time. And if we must work faster with time, then we'll use what the World Health has given us to facilitate it.
Mange Venashus, are you of that same point? You are not of the point that it is a necessity now?
Actually, I share the opinion that it is not. When we are talking of gift, at this time, you need, somebody is hungry and you give him dresses to wear. Yes, it's a gift you have made, yes. But then at the particular time that we are talking of, we don't need. Now, Mr. Khan is talking of transport facilities to help us reach the hinterland. It is very good. But look at the type of cars that came in. When we look at the type of cars, if they gave in, call it pickups, you tell me that it would intend to carry to villages like Akwaya, like you are saying. But the kind of Pajeros that they gave, are these not Pajeros that will be parked in front of ministries and in front of delegations that will be meant for delegates and ministers?
The costas for medical personnel.
We are talking of a health crisis at the moment that we need ventilators. We are talking of health crisis at the moment that we need ambulances to transport these cases. If a patient is sick at Akwaya, how are we going to take from Akwaya in a Pajero and bring that patient to a specialized treatment center, maybe in Boya, maybe in Limbe. We are talking of gift at a time that we don't need it. Let us not give gift because we want to remain at the good books of the world to say that World Health Organization has given. When I listen to this gift, I share the same opinion with Trump that World Health Organization is completely out of this game. They are not following the trend of events because we are talking of handling a crisis that is paralyzing a country that is limping with a health facility that is nothing even up to date. You are giving pajeros for health for delegates. A health delegate is not necessarily a doctor in this country.
For sure.
So how would you tell me he will be transporting? Give a gift that if these facilities were, call it personal protective equipment for health personnel, I would think that they have done something that resembles them. But when they go about giving gift to delegates, to ministers, they want to please our authorities so that when we come back on normal operating grounds, they will think of World Health Organization. Remember, the World Health Organization is afraid that other countries may take they may follow what Trump has done, and if they start reducing withdrawing from supporting their budget, the World Health Organization will crumble. That is why they are making this is what we call misplaced priority. We don't need pajeros now. We need ambulances. We need 404 that can carry, like you are saying, such cases. But 404s, even at this time, we don't even need them. We need ambulances, we need ventilators, we need personal equipment, we need masks, we need hand sanitizers to prevent. We cannot think of a luxury life when people are dying, Vanessa. So I'm of the opinion that this is misplaced priority at this moment. We don't need them now.
All right, Manga Venatius, I'll stay with you concerning our last question for discussion of today. Is sentencing Guillaume Soro in Ivory Coast a solution to the political tension in the country? And you said, no, it is not the solution. So what actually could be the solution to actually ease or bring calm to that country? Actually,
bringing calm to that country. We are talking of a country that is partly divided because of the political tension in that country. And like every political game that always, one always struggle to make sure that you silence your opponent once and for all, for you to be sure that you will remain there. Because in as much as Guillaume Soro is in the political field, Ouattara is not at ease. So to make sure that Guillaume Soro is out of the game completely, sentence him. And once you sentence him, he would not more be eligible for candidature to run for presidential election, because by then he is a prisoner, and a prisoner does not enjoy the right to vote or to pose as a candidate. So I think that it is just a strategy by the regime in place to make sure that they put him away. Let us handicap him that way so that after elections he would happen. He will come back. This is the same thing that has been happening with the former president of that very country. When you look at what is happening with Gbagbo in the International Criminal Court, it is not because Gbagbo is guilty. They are postponing the case every time to make sure that after the 2020 elections that were supposed to take place in Ivory Coast, after that, then they will release Gbagbo to come back to Ivory Coast. Because if he comes back to Ivory Coast, given his popularity, he would likely win elections and come back as a president. So the powers that be is making everything to make Vanessa, politics is arranged at the back seat.
Politics is arranged.
Yes, and what we see during polls is just the outcome of all the older hodlings that have taken place behind the doors. And when we come out, we say we have voted this president. Yes, actually he was voted. But then behind the scene, a lot of games happen. And this is one of the games that is happening. So, and if you look at what happened with Ivory Coast moved out of the African Union, because the African Union disqualified the arrest warrant that was issued for Guillaume Soro. So I think it does not solve the political tension in that country. It instead aggravates it, Vanessa.
Mr. Kango, you share the same point of view like Mange?
I actually shared it. And I want to think that politics is not a do or die affair. It is in Africa that politics is war. And the political strategy of Africans is often very bizarre. Politics, especially as it is in Ivory Coast, now the Ivorians, the sentencing of Guillaume Soro has not solved a problem. He is not.
Is it not to permit the smooth transition of Amadou Gon Coulibaly?
Now, that is a philosophy. That is just a philosophy. We are saying that politics in that country, peace will not come there because Soro has been sentenced. Soro is not a single tree that has formed a forest. There are other trees in that forest. He has a host of supporters. He has been referred to as a rebel leader. Just a leader and not a whole gang of rebels. Meaning that if he is sentenced as they have done, they are only adding more fuel to a flame that has already been burning. Because if you kill my father, there is no reason, there is no way I will sit and dialogue with you on a table of brotherhood and in truth and in spirit. If I smile with you, it's special. I only wish to have an opportunity that you turn your back and I stab you.
That's it.
So the supporters of Soro would be, in fact, you have only amplified their courage to stand up and tell the government that we are in support of Soro. Release him, and there'll be no peace in that country. I think the philosophy they would have put in place would have called all the political actors together, sit on a table of brotherhood, dialogue, because each of them has a political ideology. And if you bring the ideology of creating checkpoints which will raise revenue, bring the idea of bringing another aspect which will raise revenue for this economy, and then we merge all our ideologies together, we'll form a better country. It's not sentencing somebody that's the solution. It is not.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kang, for your viewpoint. It has been a pleasure having you for today's edition. Hope to meet you next time.
God being God.
God being God, or God being a helper. Manga Venashus, thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you to our viewers.
Thank you to our viewers for being part of us for about 30 minutes. It has been our pleasure. Stay tuned to DBS Television and do not forget to be another point of viewpoint, because it's getting more and more interesting. Until we meet, do take care and stay blessed.